Give it a sec. You're gonna have to see if it's streaming or not, because it's doing the thing again. Like, I'm not even making money off the ads, and it's doing the thing on my stream.
Well, okay. Now you popped up.
Or not, because it's doing the thing again. Like, okay, we're good. I'm not even making money off the ads.
We are
This stream has been brought to you by uBlock Origin. Hey everyone, it's the Koopa Man, and I'm here with the Swordsman100.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about the Venom movies. Well, we're also here to talk about the stupid fucking ad blockers, but yeah, that ship is already sailed. It's a stupid idea. They're putting ads on my videos, even though I'm not making a single cent off of them. Fuck YouTube. If it weren't for the fact that everyone is here, we would all be running off to Rumble. Anyway, we're getting off point. How have you been, Swordsman?
Okay.
Let's just jump right into it and talk about how we got about Venom a little bit before we get into how we actually got into Venom. Swords, can you give us a little backstory on the story of Venom?
Okay, so way back in like the early '80s, there was a big crossover called Secret Wars, and to promote the toy line, they wanted Spider-Man to have a new costume.
Mm-hmm.
And so they bought a idea from a fan, changed it a little, and then put it in. At first, people didn't like it, and so they decided to turn it into a symbiote and quickly get rid of it. Now, to be fair to the alien creature, in the comic, it did not corrupt Peter. Under a misunderstanding, it would take Peter's body out at night to fight crime.
So it would take Peter's body without his consent.
Yes, but you have to remember.
I don't know, Swords. It sounds a little bit like rape. I'm just gonna say.
Let me finish. It only started to do so after Peter made an offhand comment, and you have to remember that the symbiote at this point had the mind of a child. And he made an offhand comment that he wished he could fight crime while he slept.
Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty because she said she wished she could be. Yeah, you get where this is going.
So, things went okay-ish until Peter got too tired. Went to see his friend Reed Richards. Richards told him it was an alien life form
that was using his body without his consent.
Kind of made things worse by worrying Peter a little more than he should. And
I mean, it was an alien life form that was on his body that not even Reed was sure what completely doing and what its modus operandi is, and all they knew is it was using Peter's body while he slept.
The thing is, though, Reed didn't really know one way or another. The thing is, at the end of the day, if there was more patience and communication involved, the symbiote could have been just a snazzy new power-up for Peter. Because it did not corrupt him like the adaptions did. So, it gets out, and wants to rebond to Peter because it literally needs Peter to survive. And Peter goes to the church to try get rid of it. And before Peter can even get rid of it, he passes out, almost falls to his death. The symbiote saves him, and then it slinks away. We assume that it dies. It does not. Stories happen, and
conveniently at the exact same time, a photojournalist by the name of Eddie Brock, who blames all of his problems on Spider-Man, and Swords don't get him because we're going to get into the weeds if we go into it, was conveniently at the church at the same time, praying to God for forgiveness for the sin of suicide. And wouldn't you know it, he heard a weird noise coming from the bell tower, and some black goop fell on his face.
Yep. Creating the most unique revenge-focused villain that will never be adapted to television because they can't get it right. Venom.
They didn't even get it right in the movies because Venom doesn't want revenge in either of these.
Like Venom as a villain in the 80s, what makes him unique is he has a code of honor.
Mm-hmm.
He sees himself as a victim and as a hero. So he only wants revenge on Peter and Peter alone.
And unlike other revenge-based villains, he doesn't go off the slippery slope.
Yes, he will not. He doesn't attack Aunt May. He will not attack Mary Jane.
He'll scare the hell out of her, but he won't attack her.
Yeah. And for a while, they fight. Like, Peter will, manipulate the symbiote to come off of Eddie because the symbiote still wants Peter at the end of the day. Like, he'll basically beat Venom through trickery or his other tactics of the mind instead of brute strength.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes on for a while until
they eventually decide, you know what, people are really resonating with this Venom character. Let's introduce another villainous symbiote and use him instead, and then we can give this guy his own run eventually.
And it turns out that Venom actually works better as an anti-hero than a villain. Who would have thought it?
And from that he became popular, really popular, so popular that Marvel began to resent him.
So popular that, I kid you not, on one of the comics they said, from the pages of Venom, Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. So that's Venom in a nutshell. So let's talk about how both of us got into the Venom as a character and as a series and a franchise. Swords, we'll start with you.
It was a combination of the 90s cartoon series and the Maximum Carnage Super NES game, which kind of warped my perception a bit.
It warped my perception of LJN because who knew they were able to make a good game?
Yeah, it convinced, like, at the time, I did not know Venom was a villain, period. I thought he was always an anti-hero. Thanks to the game. And you have to remember, this was at the point where they were just showing the Carnage episodes. And then Mary Jane disappears into mist.
And they never resolved that plot line before the series end.
As for why I didn't get into the 90s Spider-Man cartoon sooner, it was more along the lines of competing cartoon schedules.
Yeah, he didn't tune into the Fox box.
Like, you had Digimon competing with Pokemon, you had, like, Sonic competing with the Power Rangers. It was a whole entire deal.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be fair, there were 2 Sonic cartoons, so pick your favorite. Do you like the one that's like Looney Tunes, or do you like the one that actually has a story? I like the one that's like Looney Tunes.
Oh, sorry.
Well, you know how you once said it's really shallow and stupid for people to get into Venom just based on his design?
Yeah.
I got into Venom just based off his design. I first found out about him in a Draw Your Own Spider-Man character book, and I attached to the design. And like the book came out in the early 2000s, and it was like it even used the term anti-hero, which made me grow an attachment to that term in finding out what anti-heroes are. Just purely based on his design. He looked like a really cool Spider-Man with lots of teeth.
He is basically a really cool Spider-Man with lots of teeth.
So yeah, apparently there is a legitimate way to get into Venom just based on his design. But let's talk about some of our favorite Venom storylines and collected issues then.
Okay, so besides the classics, your Lethal Protector, your
Mhm.
Maximum Carnage.
Mhm.
If you're wanting something new, for Eddie in particular,
Mhm.
you can't go wrong with either New Ways to Die, which basically started his, like, I am never going to be a villain ever again. Like, this is the solidification of I'm going to stay anti-hero for the rest of my days and become a full hero.
Mhm.
Mike Costa's entire run on the character is basically, what if we took the original 90s series, a miniseries after miniseries, and had good, consistent writing?
Mhm.
And while Donny Cates' run isn't perfect, it is really good.
And then they kicked him off of it, and now it's really
Yeah.
bad.
Well, it starts off bad, but gets a lot better. Like, if you can skip everything to Dark Web, like stick it all the way past Dark Web, and then it starts getting better.
All right, some of my favorite storylines are the original Alien Suit storyline, which Swords does not like me liking.
No, I don't have a problem with you liking it.
Also, Venom's original villain run, because I thought it was really well written. The introduction of Carnage.
All classics.
Mm-hmm. Though I do really like Lethal Protector, I do like Separation Anxiety. And my only problem with Planet of the Symbiotes is it is technically tied into a much worse event, the Clone Saga.
Yeah, it's basically just in the Clone Saga, just to use Ben Riley.
It's there. It's in the Clone Saga. It's the point in the Clone Saga where Eddie Brock was like, this clone nonsense has been going on for like 2 years now. Let's do something else for a little while.
You wanna know what's weird about it? Like, really weird about it?
What?
Okay, so you know how Peter holds a grudge through the whole entire thing until Flash basically gets him to stop?
Yeah.
Ben Riley actually treats Eddie far worse, and it's Peter in that makes Ben Riley give Eddie a chance.
I mean, to be fair, Ben Riley was cloned from Peter Parker when Venom was still a villain. Hell, he was still an alien symbiote costume. If I remember the timeline right.
Actually, I think the original Clone series took place in the 70s.
Oh. Well, it doesn't matter. And there was also some, Venom's also appeared outside of the comics before these movies.
Yeah.
The less we say about Spider-Man 3, the less fighting we're going to do. So we'll skip right over that and talk about, some video games. He's been in the Marvel vs. Capcom series since Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, which was made in the 90s, right in the middle of his anti-hero stuff, and they actually portray him as an well, he still eats people, but he is portrayed as an anti-hero in the Marvel vs. Capcom series, and he has appeared in...
To be fair, in the original Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, he doesn't actually eat people, he does the threats, which is true to the character. It's only in the newer one, Infinite, that he actually starts.
Oh boy, let's not get into Infinite because we'll start fighting on that too. The only reason I own Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is because it was on sale on Steam in a bundle, and everything else in the bundle together would have cost more, so I got it anyway. And then eventually got the DLC because if I have it, I might as well have the DLC.
Yeah. They don't show it, but it's implied that Infinite's version of Venom actually does make good on his threats this time.
So the one thing they did right, and they didn't even do it right. Well, they double didn't do it right. He's a DLC character.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like Infinite more than a lot of people. they compared to 1 and 2, they did not do Venom at just as much justice, and it's kind of sad.
But you know what did do Venom justice? Where's Spider-Wuss? Oh, Spider-Wuss, come out and play! The Spider-Man game on PS1.
Yes, finally, that is actually mostly accurate. Venom is not quite that dumb, but
he is pretty dumb.
Yes, he is pretty dumb. He's not quite that dumb, but he can be dumb.
He can be extremely dumb. Excuse me.
It basically, the symbiote had, depending on its corruption level, can go from being eloquent to, childlike.
I mean, it is technically still a baby.
Yeah. And while Eddie Brock is, he's a actual journalist and he's really skilled at his job, he is not the super scientist that Peter Parker is.
No, not even in the slightest.
Midnight Suns was a really good adaptation, even though it's going more for the movie we're about to talk about than the actual comic.
There was also Marvel Ultimate Alliance, where he appeared in the first one, well, as DLC character, which, because of how weird the DLC was implemented, the DLC is effectively an exclusive to the Xbox 360 version. However, if you are able to get the game on PC, which may or may not be legal, but I say it is still possible, they do have mods that put the Xbox DLC onto the PC version. And then he also appeared again in the Marvelverse Ultimate Alliance 3 on the Switch. And isn't it weird that they skipped from 1 to 3?
Yes, even I'll allow this. That way we don't have to talk about you-know-who.
We also don't have to talk about that non-existent game's really, really bad story. Which was based on 2 even worse stories from the comics.
Talking about Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 3 first.
Excuse me.
What's interesting is the adaptation in 1 isn't that great. To be fair, they do still keep him as an anti-hero, but be it because he's a part of the villain pack, or because the developers did not actually know much about the character, he's not... They don't get his personality right.
To be fair, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 doesn't get a lot of characters right.
While Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3...
gets everyone right.
It does have a few weird issues, like Venom, for some reason, now suddenly hates any characters that have Spider in their name whatsoever.
Even characters who aren't even remotely related to Spider-Man. He even hates Black Widow for some reason.
Yes. Which is weird because in the comics he actually has a really good relationship with Miles. And he doesn't even know Black Widow.
I'm pretty sure it's just there for a joke.
Yeah. But aside from some weird hiccups like that, he's a really good adaptation of the 90s characterization.
Mm-hmm. His Venom at his best, to be honest.
Well, I like him nowadays. I like him being full hero.
Well, yeah, but again, Venom at his best is Venom, Lethal Protector Venom, in my opinion. And that's basically the Venom we got towards the tail end of the original animated series. It's what they were trying to do with Unlimited, but Unlimited had a couple good ideas and a lot of really bad ideas, and that's why it didn't last past 1 season. And the less we say about the other Spider-Man cartoons, the better.
I will never understand why Unlimited teamed him up with Carnage. That's if you know anything about the characters, you never do that.
I mean, if you're trapped on a strange planet, you're going to hang out with a guy you know is just like you.
That's I'm sorry, but that's like teaming Spider-Man up with Green Goblin and having them be buddy-buddy.
Do you want to know what happens in the finale? He teams up with the Green Goblin and they're all buddy-buddy. I am not kidding. This did not happen past... This did not go past one season.
Was it the actual Green Goblin, or is this someone just making a man?
Alternate world Green Goblin.
Okay, that makes it slightly better. So, what was your thoughts about when you first heard about the Venom movie, getting the trailer and all that?
I thought, oh, they're finally making this? Took them long enough. Because this has been a thing that's been on since the Sam Raimi trilogy. Because they would have given Venom a solo movie after Spider-Man 3, and I still think it would have redeemed the character somewhat if, Topher Grace actually hit the gym.
Well, you couldn't really redeem Topher's version of Venom because of the characterization. Like, the symbiote makes you evil, which wasn't a thing in the comics. Topher himself was a scumbag. There was nothing really redeeming about him.
I think they could have salvaged it. Like, Sam Raimi had his own plans for Venom, but they were much further down the line than Spider-Man 3. And if he would if Avi Arad would have left him alone and he just did what he wanted, we eventually would have gotten a really good introduction of the of Venom as a villain, and then Venom as an anti-hero, as it probably would have gone into Maximum Carnage.
You're probably right.
I'm sad because now we're never going to get that Maximum Carnage movie.
What's worse is they wanted to, the Amazing Spider-Man verse?
Yeah.
They wanted to do a Venom movie there.
Oh my god. How soon?
And the leaks were horrible for it.
Oh boy. Kind of a good thing that Amazing 2 stank as much as it did, huh? And yeah. I'm not even saying the movie stinks. Because there's a lot of good ideas in Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's just none of them have all the time on their own to shine. It's a very confused movie.
Personally, I would have cut out the stuff with Harry and kept the stuff with Mary Jane.
Yeah, the stuff with Harry would have been great as its own movie. But you know what isn't a confused movie? The first Venom movie.
Yes.
So do you want to do the synopsis?
Well, I'll let you do the first synopsis, and then I'll do the second one.
Well, so Venom is a movie about a journalist in San Francisco named Eddie Brock, and he has it good. He lives with his girlfriend, Anne Wang, and he's basically the top of his field. And then he decides to go full shit lib and trash on a company he's just supposed to be interviewing. So this company ruins his fucking life, and he's thrown in the gutter, and he loses his girlfriend and everything. Only it turns out that he was right. and the company, run by a guy whose name I forgot.
The Life Foundation.
The Life Foundation is actually kidnapping homeless people and doing illegal experiments on them with aliens. And based on a lead he gets from a leak from the company, because he was the only one willing to call out the boss. And this would be the thing that would save his reputation. Eddie decides to be an actual journalist and sneak into the company and take pictures and write up an article. Only he gets attacked by one of the aliens. And it turns out this alien attaches itself to Eddie. And when the Life Foundation goes and tries to kill him to take it back, the alien saves him, and they become Venom. And it turns out Venom was actually part of a squad sent to basically destroy the planet. But because of his friendship with Eddie Brock, he decides, you know what, maybe Earth isn't worth destroying. He goes full Optimus Prime, and the rest of the movie is basically the war against the other aliens. And the Life Foundation leader guy. Like, I know this is way less detail than I would have put in a video, but if I made this into a video, it would have been taken off YouTube, and then they still would have put ads on it.
Now, what's interesting is now, while this is an origin story, the origin is simply there because they have to do it.
There's no way they could have tied it into any existing Spider-Man property at this point.
The main thing that they're wanting to do is they're wanting to adapt basically the first part of Lethal Protector and a little bit of Planet of the Symbiotes.
Yes.
And what's interesting about this is they do capture Eddie's earnestness about justice. Like, he wants to be the protector of the homeless people. Like, Eddie is obsessed with protecting innocent people in the comics. He has a fondness for homeless people in the comics.
Because he is one at many points in his life.
The symbiote, the Venom symbiote in this case, while they do use his spawn, Riot, as the symbiote leader, I do think that's because there's not really a named symbiote that they could use to represent the invading symbiotes that were in Planet of the Symbiotes, because they didn't get names.
Yeah, in the comics, Venom is basically the father per se of all the other symbiotes in the Life Foundation, and in the movie, they're all completely separate individuals, and you only see two of them.
The movie does capture the Venom symbiote's desire to actually, unlike the evil symbiotes, to want to bond with humanity instead of eating them, to want to play, well, basically protect them.
He doesn't even eat the annoying yapping dog.
Basically like the Venom symbiote is like, how do I put this? It's the Goku to Riot's Vegeta.
Mm-hmm.
And the special effects were a lot better than Black Panther, which came out around the same time.
Black Panther looks like a PS2 game. Changed my mind.
And it was a really good start. I did appreciate that they did try to include a lot of the humor that was from Venom comics. And while this will annoy Koopa, the Venom comics are not mature titles. Like Spider-Man himself, the comics are for kids.
He bites a dude's head off at the end.
I know.
All I ask for is to see the aftermath swords. That's all I ask.
But Venom is not Deadpool. He is not the Punisher. Venom should never have an R rating.
He bit off. I repeat myself. He bit off the cartel dude's head.
And the only main problem I really have with the movie is Venom should never actually eat people, because that's not something of Eddie's version of the character.
I think it's awesome.
That's something more of Gargan's version.
But yeah, this was
Flash.
Like, in spite of what a certain Green Goblin says about it, this is not saucy sauce McSauce, because this is actually a really good attempt to give Venom a movie his own origin outside of being attached to Spider-Man, and it does actually work.
In fact, it does a lot of the things that the 90s cartoon did to simplify Venom's villain origin, to make it work when they couldn't use Secret Wars, even though they eventually did use Secret Wars as the finale.
Well, before the finale. It's the second to last arc. But yeah, it's a really good movie. I recommend seeing it. It's on Disney Plus. Go watch it legally so I don't get screwed even more. They're putting ads on my videos without asking me and taking all of the money. And what do you think about it, Swords?
I think it's a solid 8
All right.
out of 10.
It was so good that it spawned its own sequel. Let's talk about the sequel. I haven't seen it because it's not on Disney Plus yet. So, Swords, tell me about the sequel.
Okay, so this starts off with a backstory with Cletus and Shriek.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the orphanage, which was a abusive orphanage. Shriek is revealed to be a mutant.
So,
And
hang on. The Sony Spider-Man series actually has mutants in it.
Yes.
And they could have used this tied into the MCU Spider-Man, and they would have had mutants already established in the verse. The people running MCU are fucking stupid.
Regardless, they're taking Shriek away. Cletus does not like this one bit, and he basically screams after her, and you see they take her into a vehicle, and then you see Patrick Mulligan. He's basically watching over Shriek, and then to try to get away, Shriek uses her powers to scream into Patrick Mulligan's face, and basically causes a car wreck and causes him damage. But she doesn't get away in the end. Cletus is told that she is dead several years later, and so he thinks that she's dead, and got out eventually, becomes a very prolific serial killer with a lot of bodies to his name, and no one can find where he's buried them.
Hang on, I forgot to mute everything else in the background.
Meanwhile, Eddie and the Venom symbiote have basically come to an understanding. While the Venom symbiote doesn't like it,
humans are friends, not food.
Yeah, he's been basically eating chickens, or implied to be eating chickens. But Venom wants to be out there fighting bad guys. He's very insistent on being a lethal protector of the innocent. And Eddie's like, no, we can't do that because then we'll be taken to Area 51 and you'll be killed and I'll be killed.
To be fair, that's entirely true.
And the Venom symbiote is also wanting to get Eddie and Anne back together, even though she's with a new guy. I don't really understand. At first, I thought the new guy was going to be killed because it's a Carnage movie. But no, he doesn't die, which is weird. It's weird because in the comics, Eddie and Anne married and had a kid named Dylan, so I don't really get what they're going with him. But the new guy isn't bad. Like, he's a subversion of the jerk new boyfriend. Like, he's not annoying or anything.
Yeah, because it was Eddie who was the jerk.
So, Anne announces to Eddie that she's going to marry this new dude. The Venom symbiote tries basically everything to make him reveal his emotions, try to get them back together and all that, and basically talk through Eddie. Eddie's kind of being a jerk to the Venom symbiote through all this. And then it's also shown that the Venom symbiote... that Eddie and the Patrick are having a kind of a partnership on trying to find the bodies of Cletus Cassidy, and that Eddie is interviewing Cletus Cassidy, and the Venom symbiote helps Eddie find the bodies, which doesn't really make Patrick happy, since he was supposed to give him where the body's locations first before going to the Daily Bugle.
Wait, the
But
Daily Bugle is already in this?
yes, they have a San Francisco branch now. It's a small cameo. There's several other things that are also teased in there.
Why? Why did Spider-Man No Way Home end the way it did? They were clearly building it up to be in the same universe.
Because Kevin Feige did not want to share. He does not want Venom to be a part of the MCU.
Kevin Feige can go fuck himself.
Anyways, so this makes Patrick Mulligan mad. This makes Cletus Cassidy mad because now he's on death row. But before he dies, he sends out a letter to Eddie and basically invites him to his last, to talk before his last, conversation before he dies.
Which is where the stinger which is where the stinger in the first movie left off.
Actually, no, that's actually took place when the body's location thing. Like, Eddie's been trying to get the bodies a long time. So, when Eddie's talking to Cletus has been... He's apparently good at reading people, or he knows a lot about Eddie. And he finds out... I don't know how he finds this out, but... Excuse me. He knows that Eddie had an abusive father, and that his father hates Eddie because his mom died, giving birth to Eddie.
You want to know what he did? He read the Spider-Man comics where it was established.
And that angers the Venom symbiote, who wants to back up his best bud. Because the Venom symbiote is a total bro. And attacks basically Cletus for basically being a jerk to Eddie. And Eddie's like, no, you can't do this. And Cletus bites Eddie and gets the Carnage symbiote that way. Now, this is a spawn, though it's not made clear at first, but this actually is a new symbiote spawn. It is not the Venom symbiote. It is an actual symbiote spawn.
Same as it was in the comics, except Carnage didn't bite him. He just gave birth and left the baby in the cell.
Yeah. So, Eddie and the Venom symbiote leave because this is bad for them. Eddie blows his gasket over this because the Venom symbiote, almost broke their cover. And coupled with the fact that the Venom symbiote that Eddie has not been allowing the Venom symbiote, fight bad guys and basically eat bad guys, they have a falling out and fight and split.
And then Woody Harrelson gets put onto the electric chair and all hell breaks loose.
Almost. You're right that all hell breaks loose, but it's the gas chamber. Well, not the gas chamber. How they put, they insert deadly chemicals into you?
The lethal inject. It doesn't matter how it happened. The point is it happened. And then a character named Carnage is born and commits all sorts of carnage that we don't get to see because this movie is rated PG-13.
No, you actually get to see Carnage kill a lot of cops. Prisoners. He puts his tongue down some cop's throat. You forget, Koopa. PG-13 allows you to get away with a lot of dark stuff.
Yeah, like the poke of death.
Are you not aware of 80s movies?
I am aware of
scar children for life.
I am aware of them. He was given the poke of death, but continue.
So Carnage is out killing people. Carnage the Carnage symbiote has its own personality. It's not while that it does have one in the comics. Cletus and the Carnage symbiote are usually in sync. This will get me to my only gripe with the movie
Excuse me.
later on. And Carnage basically goes to a gas station and because through a long series of events finds out that Shriek is still alive and goes to rescue her. Meanwhile, the Venom symbiote is jumping from host to host and having a party. Just to feel good about itself. Because it wants to be accepted. It doesn't like that it's been rejected by Eddie Brock. And thinks that people will accept it as a hero because it is a big, fun child.
Mm-hmm.
As it is in the comics.
Like I said, it's basically a baby.
And that doesn't last too much longer, because one thing we didn't go over that's important is this movie universe has one thing that as a rule for this universe that the comics don't have, and that symbiotes need a perfect host, otherwise they kill the host and die themselves. So the Venom symbiote is jumping from host to host just to keep itself alive and to keep the host alive because it's not a monster. And eventually finds another perfect match in Mrs. Chin. Carnage breaks...
The convenience store owner from the last movie?
Yep. Same exact lady.
Okay, then. Continue.
Carnage frees Shriek, and they decide they're going to celebrate their reunion by having a wedding and then killing everyone afterward, because they are a happy little family of serial killers.
That's messed up.
But to have their red wedding, they each need a guest for the wedding. Shriek wants to kill the cop, Patrick Mulligan. Cletus wants to get revenge. Cletus wants revenge on Eddie, and Carnage wants revenge on his father. So they want to get Eddie there, so they kidnap Anne.
All right.
And they basically are trying to find the Anne because they successfully capture Patrick, but they have trouble finding Anne because Anne's smarter than her comic counterpart. Basically, she finds out what's going on between Eddie and all that, gets the two back together, then gets kidnapped by Shriek. Venom fights Carnage and Shriek, and they basically have a really good fight scene, really well done. Anne's boyfriend helps. Shriek dies because the Carnage symbiote realizes that she's more of a liability than a help because sound. So, which does not do it any favors with Cletus, which ruins their bond, which gives Eddie and Venom an opening to do what Spider-Man never wanted to do in the comics. Yes.
Cletus wouldn't have gave a shit if it was the comics Cletus.
It depends on the writer. Sometimes he really does care about Shriek, sometimes he couldn't care less.
Yeah, and the Joker cares about Harley Quinn. Continue.
Well, that's the thing. Joker never cared. Like, if you're like in Cullen Bunn's run, Cletus will do anything for Shriek.
He believes human beings to just be bodies. Like, I read Carnage Mind Bomb. There is no human being within that vessel. He's a being of evil, even without the Carnage symbiote.
Yes, but time has gone on, and since people have compared him to the Joker, they have decided to make him different from old JJ.
Continue.
Even though he was doing the whole chaos stick first.
Continue.
So, Beans, they do not have a perfect one-to-one bond, which will get me to my one complaint. Venom successfully beats Carnage, eats the Carnage symbiote, just like in that one comic from Howard Mackie, and then guts Cletus, killing him.
Are you able to see the guts?
No, it's like a...
Should have been rated R. It should have been rated R.
I'm talking about, you know how the Venom symbiote and Riot can turn their hand into a bladed blade?
Yeah, I know, but it should have been rated R. Continue.
After that, you get a tease that Patrick Mulligan somehow is going to become Toxin.
Excellent.
And then it cuts to Venom and Eddie on a beach. There's a scene before. Actually, there's a scene before that where they talk about that one book with the Windmill Crusader. Then they go to the beach, and Eddie says, "Okay, fine, we will be superheroes. I fully agree to that." And that makes Venom really, really happy.
And then they turn on the TV.
Yep, and they turn on first, the Venom symbiote tells them about the hive mind, tells them about the multiverse, and says that we can tap into that if you want, Eddie. And then there's this weird effect, and the TV turns on its own, and they see J. Jonah Jameson talking. And then they see Tom Holland, Peter Parker, and he turns into the Venom form and just says, "That guy." And the movie ends.
And then No Way Home happened, and they fucking blue-balled us. They fucking blue-balled us. The only thing that could have come out of the MCU is finally doing a Maximum Carnage movie. Not only just one of the best Spider-Man storylines, one of the best Marvel storylines, period. It's never going to get adapted, not only because Carnage is definitively dead after this movie, but because Venom doesn't even exist in the MCU. And it's so fucking stupid that they did that. They only brought him in for the fucking stinger at the end, only to show he's no longer part of the universe. Why would they do that? Why would they fucking do that? Why would they fucking blue ball us like that? It was the worst part of the movie. It actually ruins the movie for me, because going back, I don't think it's that good of a movie anymore.
Well, to contain your rage just a little, there is one effect Sony Venom does have on the MCU.
It brought back Raimi?
He changes the MCU in one way and one way only.
Why?
He leaves a little bit of himself in the MCU.
I don't care! We had an established Venom!
I know, we had the best Venom so far.
Oh, it's so stupid. And it's even worse because they're not going to do any more MCU Spider-Man movies because Sony took back the rights.
And I know the plans that they showed, well, at least talked about when the original plans for Venom, how they were going to include them, but they decided against it because they didn't want the movie to feel crowded, like with Spider-Man 3. Our work sounded really awesome, and probably would have made the movie even more spectacular.
Do a fucking Lord of the Rings extended cut, fucking Spider-Man No Way Home, bring in Venom, bring in Harry, bring in the other Harry, bring in both the Harrys.
Heck, have Venom fight Topher Grace Venom.
This was supposed to be the last Spider-Man movie ever because of the deal breaking down. Make it the best Spider-Man movie ever.
Though, this is the first I've heard that there isn't going to be another Spider-Man MCU movie. As far as
Sony took back the rights, dude.
I thought they were still under contract to do at least one more MCU Spider-Man movie.
No, the contract only existed for the prequel, and the prequel is just there to establish the retcons. The one with Black Norman.
I thought that was a completely different cartoon.
It's part of the MCU technically. It's also not part of the MCU. It's confusing, but it's what the contract clearly stated. And after that, they haven't renewed yet. At least not to my knowledge. So, like where I said here, where we would go next? We can't go anywhere next. Because there's no way you can keep doing the Venom franchise without Spider-Man, can you?
Well, actually, there is a lot of possible avenues you can go with Venom alone.
Alright, let's hear a few.
Thanks to Venom actually being his own character in the comics, he has a lot of villains that you could possibly go with. You can go with Jack. I know you probably haven't heard of Jack, but...
I've heard of Jack.
Okay, so there's Jack, there's Null, there's other... Sorry.
Doesn't mean the audience has heard of Jack.
Yes, but this could be their introduction to Jack, and Jack is a really good villain.
Jack's just another goblin.
No, he's more like... Sure, he has a glider like the Goblin does, but unlike a Green Goblin, he's more like if Mike Myers actually did have a Halloween theme, instead of just having his movie called Halloween.
You know, about that wasn't supposed to be the case. Like, after the second one, Michael Myers was never supposed to come back. But continue.
They could do any one of the demons he's fought over the years. And he's fought a lot of demons.
Then they would have to start getting into Ghost Rider. And the MCU sadly owned that one. Technically,
they could, even though it would pain me to say it, because I would like Spider-Man to be there, and I would like the actual Captain America to be there. Technically, Sony does have the rights to most of the characters from Maximum Carnage to do Maximum Carnage without Spider-Man or Captain America.
And it would be pointless if they did it.
Yeah. Let's see. They could do Crime Master.
Like, no matter what they do, at least it's not Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5. Do we want to get into that before we close?
Let me run through a few more Venom villains first. I'm going to pull up TV tropes.
Whoever said Venom didn't have any villains of his own. Well, Micah Curtis did, but he's not all that smart. But you could also bring over Mac Gargan.
You know, since they keep on wanting to do symbiote invasions, they could actually bring up Bob and actually end that storyline with a satisfying ending.
May as well.
Even though the story that introduced Mania, which is another villain they could use, Maniac, is kind of lackluster. Like, Maniac is a great villain and side character, but the story that introduced Mania is not that great. But you could actually make Bob work. Codex would be interesting if you're going to do Null. If you're doing Null, you could also bring up the Grendel and you know the Legend of Beowulf?
Yeah.
What was the monster's mother called again?
I don't even remember. All I know is she may or may not be a dragon.
Whoever that character is, that there's she exists in Marvel Comics, and that's another Venom villain.
Of course, Beowulf exists. Beowulf can exist in everything because it's public domain, unlike Mickey Mouse. But yeah, before we close, a certain game with Venom in it has come out that we probably should talk about before going off, just so we can get it off our chests. So where do we even begin with this?
Just Venom in name only. Spider-Man 2 has a Venom in name only, and the character is more like Null than Venom.
You want to know what's even worse? It's not even Eddie. You know what? Want to know what's worse? Guess who's anti-Venom in this?
It's Peter.
God damn it! Someone told you.
You forget. You brought me on because I'm the Venom.
They make Peter anti-Venom, and he never goes back to being Spider-Man, does he?
No, he does. Well, yeah, he never does go back to being Spider-Man, though you can toggle that off. It's one of the suits you can keep.
So, yeah, officially Miles Morales in the Sony game universe is now Spider-Man, and Peter is now something else. So they got what every fucking writer since... Every fucking writer drinking their soy latte at fucking Starbucks has wanted.
Okay, let me... this story is,
Spider-Man is now Peter Darker.
You're mad about Spider-Man, but this story is, specifically made to tick Venom fans off.
Which is the majority of Spider-Man fans, let's be honest.
No, a lot of Spider-Man fans don't even care about Venom. A lot of them don't even realize that Venom is an anti-hero. At least from the ones I talked to. Let me lay this down. At first, when they show off Harry, they do the whole thing, we're going to combine Harry and Flash. Which is another thing that should tick you off if you know Flash, because Flash is a great character. They make Harry Agent Venom. And make you think that you're going to play as Agent Venom for a little bit. And then they squash that possibility because Peter almost dies to Kraven. Sorry for spoilers.
I mean, that's what happened in the comic book, so... He buried him alive and then shot his own brains out.
So, Harry gives the symbiote to Peter... And then after that, any notion that the symbiote could be used for good or was good in the first place goes right out the window. Or even that it was influenced by the host. Because it turns out that it was all manipulating things. Its whole and only goal is to turn planet Earth into a death world. Where it basically spawns millions of symbiotes to control all life, starting with Peter. I kid you not.
I am tempted. I am tempted to. You know what? We're going to close the stream on a single note and allow me to get that single note up. It's gonna take me a minute. Keep talking about it.
So. They eventually get the symbiote off Peter because it's corrupting him. But it goes... Harry gets it back because it's the only thing keeping him alive. He becomes Venom. You play as Venom for a very brief second just to kill Kraven. Kraven is wasted just so you play... just so they could show you that, yeah, we could have made Venom playable, but we're not going to enjoy this little brief demo.
Assholes.
After that, Harry goes straight into evil mode, turns Mary Jane into Scream, which Scream was one of the best supporting Venom characters. She is now just a villain.
The more you say, the angrier I become.
Mary Jane tries to kill Peter for just a little bit, and it's revealed that the weakness to symbiotes is just sound, not fire. Venom is not harmed by fire in this version. Period. It's just sound in the anti-Venom symbiote. He then basically does the whole web of shadows thing. You eventually get the anti-Venom symbiote, and you're basically keep away with the meteor, because the meteor is what Venom wants to basically allow him to basically take over the Earth. And at this point, Harry is not there. Harry knows that this is not a good idea, but because this Venom is more null than the actual Venom symbiote, Harry is now just a puppet. It doesn't care about the host, even though that was one of the things that made Venom Venom.
Yeah, Swords. Take a peek at the OBS real quick. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Spider-Man 2. That's the Venom movies, and I'm too angry to say anything else about Venom tonight.
I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry.
But this was a decent enough review stream. Let's be honest. If I tried to make it into actual video, it would have never got uploaded, and YouTube still would have put ads on it. So yeah, that's it for tonight.
I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry for my rant.
Well, we'll be back on Halloween. Well, Swords may or may not be back for Halloween, but we'll be back for Halloween for some really special plans. So until then, my next video is next Friday, and do stay tuned. Leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell, and remember to turn on that pesky ad block. Good night, everyone.
Bye.